what I'm going to work on today on a Tanfoglio Stock Master is I'm going to change out the last spring. It's from Hennings Group, and it's the trigger Plunger Spring. And they make a featherlight one, so I'm hoping that this one works good. And what it does is this plunger rides on the trigger bow. It pretty much does that. So it looks kind of like this. And it rides right here. So when you're pulling your trigger, it's actually depressing this. And right now this is a stock spring, so it's a 24 pound. It's very heavy. So I'm going to replace it with this 18 pound from Hennings, and we're going to see what that does as far as pull weight. And I actually have a pretty good trigger job done on this gun. And right now it's right at about a 2 pound pull. And I'm going to see if I can get this to break under a 2 pound pull once I get this new spring changed out. See what it does. So one thing I'm going to do before I install this into my gun is I'm going to take this spring and actually polish it inside and out, just with some polishing compound and probably a little bit of like really fine 1000 grit sandpaper until I get it to pretty much a mirror finish. I know it sounds kind of anal, but believe it or not, when you start stacking up all the different springs and tolerances on these guns, the smoother the surfaces are where anything rubs together, it makes a big difference in trigger pull. I mean, a really big difference. Alright, so I got the spring polished, and you can see this is another Hennings spring that they sent me. And I just want to see if you can see the difference between that up against it. This one's almost to a mirror finish, and the stock one pretty much just comes black. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and install this spring. I have another video that shows a full breakdown of this gun to get you to this point. So watch that, then come back to pretty much where we're going to leave off. Okay, so now we're ready to take out the factory 24 pound spring and replace it with the Hennings 18 pound spring. And this is a total pain in the ass. What you have to do is you have to depress this plunger, the head of the plunger, and there's a tiny little pin right here. And I actually just take a 1/16 punch and slide it in like so. And I mean, this thing is absolutely tiny. Oh, my stinking hand. So we're just going to set that to the side real quick. And you have to watch out because the spring will go flying if you don't be careful. There we go. The head comes off. And there's our polished factory spring. It's a 24 pounder, and you can see the resistance that that has. Now we'll see how the Hennings does. Okay. So you can see just a much lighter spring for sure. I mean, you could even see the different thicknesses. This is the factory one, and that's the Hennings one. I mean, two totally different springs pretty much. So now what I want to do, I want to clean this real good before I install this. Now we got the new spring on. All we do is take the head of the plunger, reinstall it, and what I like to do is push that down. I'll take the 1/16 punch and slide it in the back just to hold it. And now I gotta take this tiny little pin and slide it in. It's a total pain. There we go. That feels a lot better than the factory spring. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and oil this. Then all the other parts I'm going to go ahead and oil and get cleaned up. And we're going to see if we get this under 2 pounds. Alright, let's see how we did. So in double action, it's still probably going to be pretty heavy. right at about 5.5 pounds. Let's try single action. Kind of jumped a little bit. It's like a 1.9, 1.8, something like that. So under a 2-pound trigger pull, and this still has a 13-pound hammer spring, and it still has the firing pin block, which makes it drop safe. I could go all the way down to, I think, a 10-pound Patriot Defense spring. So I could probably get this trigger even lighter. I'm not going to do that because right now this gun sets off all different kind of primers. So I definitely need that. But you know, getting the trigger sub 2 pounds is freaking awesome. I'm really happy for that, and I'm thinking I'm going to do the same thing to this gun, which this gun actually runs a couple ounces lighter than the other one. So this might get well under 2 pounds.